One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
Lenny Kaplan is the AD at NJIT. He's with us today on One Question. And the Highlander story over the last handful of years, I think, is an interesting one. And Lenny's got great perspective on the challenge, of course, of making the move from D2 to D1, which you guys have done, Lenny. Now a full member, of course, of the Atlantic Sun. And I'm curious specifically, as you think back to the ways in which you communicated with your fan base about how difficult this move may be, because you were having substantial success at the D2 level, obviously completely different competitive dynamics when you go D1, but you guys have had a number of high-profile successes in the last calendar year. You've got a great facility coming online, but as it specifically pertains to communicating with your fan base, how strategic were you in that process, and what steps did you take to prepare them for, again, the difficulty of the transition and how it may result from a wins and losses standpoint?
Well, I think all fan bases are smart but passionate, and there is a difference. Most realize you're taking the step up, and there's going to be an increased level of competition, and they all expect you to do well because you're their team, and that's what happens. So for us, men's basketball is what everybody looks at. We won the first two games against Manhattan and Ryder, and then we started a very long losing streak. And it's about communication and, tempering excitement, but maintaining positivity. And, everybody knows that you had some success. We were okay in Division III, then went to Division II. We had sex in Division II. And it's a transition. And the fan bases, the smarter ones, and not everybody questions the move. Not everybody's sure you can do it. But the ones who are in your close, more passionate group know that you can. They feel you can, you can. And it's about just staying in touch with them, every aspect, and communicating, positive messages that, hey, it's going to be tough, but, we're right there. And, hopefully you're not losing games by touchdowns and you're only losing them by field goals.
Also, in retrospect, Lenny, what aspects of the transition from a macro level were most difficult? And it's an arduous process, as it should be, I suppose, but what did you guys find as some of the biggest challenges in the transition?
Our biggest challenge was finding a conference. I think more than anybody out there who's made the transition, we were caught in the middle of the NCAA allowing everybody to move up, and we followed all of their rules. And then in the middle of our transition, they put the moratorium in and mandated you have to have conference membership before you move. So at the time, with the 9 independents, we gathered together, and they were all, each individual school was then plucked into a conference except for us. And we were literally the last of the Mohicans, and I hope no one ever has to go through that process again. But being a Division I independent in basketball and the other sports is a brutal undertaking. It's not good for the student athletes. Knowing that, at the end of the year, it's just the end of the year and they're really not playing for a whole lot except pride.
Lenny, you guys have the Wellness and Event Center coming online next year, I believe, and D1 Ticker has covered that facility pretty considerably in terms of the impact it could have on your campus. But give us an update on where it's at from a status standpoint and kind of how you view that project today.
It's a tremendous project. It is a game changer for us. Every sport will be impacted in some way. The old facility is going to be coming down. Topping off ceremony of the structural steel should happen next week. We are on target for a September 2017 opening. 3,500-seat arena, jogging track, indoor long jump pit, 8-lane pool with diving boards, separate strength and conditioning space for the student athletes, fitness area for the general students. It's a very all-encompassing facility, and every team will be helped by it over the next couple of years.
Is the Wellness and Event Center a project you would point to specifically possible because of the move to Division I, or would that have gotten done had you guys not made this transition? What's your opinion on that front?
I think if we had not made the transition, we would have improved our facilities to a point to bring them up to, the new century. I mean, the building, that room was built in 1964. But I think the Wellness and Event Center took on a whole new life as we were looking for conferences and seeing what we were competing against. I've been here 17 years, and we've talked about new facilities for a while. And I think there's a big difference of, retrofitting and upgrading versus building from scratch. And I think the Wellness and Event Center is something that was born out of even though the campus knew they needed something bigger, really took on its own life as we went into Division I and we were looking for a conference.
Beyond the looking for a conference dynamic, is an institution's facility profile, an institution who may be thinking about exploring this move from Division II to Division I, is a facilities profile really high up on your list of how they should think about the competitive constraints as they make a potential transition, or are there other items that you believe are even more important in the current dynamics of making a potential move?
Well, I think that it's part of the equation. I think it's all about the experience of the student athletes, and the experience is enhanced by better facilities. Better doesn't always mean new. In some cases, older or better. But it's all part of the experience, and it's the ability for your teams to recruit. The student athlete experience is enhanced with winning. And, to attract better student athletes in recruiting, we all have, academics, and they're all rated differently. And the jobs you're going to get when you get out are all rated differently, including future salaries. But while you're at that school for 4 years, your facilities is a huge part of it. I don't think it's the be-all, end-all, but it is a huge part of it.
Okay, so let's knock out some quick hitter, just fun questions. What's your morning routine, Lenny? When you wake up, what's the process you take on a pretty regular basis between when your feet hit the floor and when you get in the office?
Hit the snooze button.
How many times?
6. You know what? I have a long commute. I travel about 90 minutes to get to work every day. It's on the train. So I do a lot of my reading. I do a lot of, catching up with some emails. Every AD, we get a couple hundred emails a day. I respond to everyone personally. I don't put them off to anybody. I do a lot of my reading. The Division I ticker comes in at 7 in the morning. It's a great thing to read on the way in. And you're planning your day on the way in, and you have your short list of things you really have to get done, and what's hot and what's not. And then when you get here, you hit the ground running.
What's one thing about Division I college athletics that you believe to be true that may be countercultural to the popular opinion right now? So it could be. So for me, my example would be, I think esports within the next handful of years to a decade is going to be huge for the NCAA landscape. That would be probably one thing that's bubbling beneath the surface that I believe to be true that others may not. Is there anything that comes to mind for you on that type of question?
I don't know if the model we currently have is sustainable. The big guys with the money are spending more and investing more, and the little guys we're trying to keep up to a point. And I think that that whole model has to be looked at. I know the NCAA has just taken some steps to reevaluate some of that basketball money towards academics and things like that. But, at the end of the day, I don't know if, the 1A football guys and the Division II, what used to be 1 AAA, we're really all in the same pot. And I think something really, kind of has to be looked at a little bit.
And that's today's one question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.